Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. We just had a serious downpour here in Taipei, and the air feels really clean and all that. But it reinforced another idea why I want to live in Taiwan, pivot my career here. I remember there was another time it rained really heavily, and I ran into a little bit of a jam due to the rain. What had happened was I used to do a lot of tutoring gigs, and I had one eighth or ninth grader who was studying algebra, if I remember correctly, and he was studying a little bit ahead of his grade, if I remember correctly. He comes from an Indian background. You know, people from India who end up here in the U.S. they really push hard in education. I think I don't need to explain that. Not to be racially judgmental or anything, but that's the reality of it. Now it had started to pour just as I left for the tutoring, and the dad had sent me the wrong place that we were going to meet, the wrong library. And as I'm driving, there's a huge downpour. I was driving a Mitsubishi Lancer at the time, and I kept putting off fixing the windshield. And so the wipers were hardly keeping it clean. And if that wasn't bad enough, one of the wiper blades broke. And I still somehow made it to the wrong library that they had fucking sent me to. I got there, I sat down, I started contacting, where are you? And we're chasing each other around with the phone. We couldn't find each other. And I started describing where I was. And that's when it dawned on us that we're looking at two different scenes. And the city that he had sent me to had two libraries. This is after I had driven 30 minutes there. Now I had to scramble another 15, 20 minutes. Now the dad had hoped for me to tutor for 2 hours from I think it was 6 to 8 p.m. because the library closes at 8 p.m. I can't remember the details, but it was the last 2 hours of the library's opening time. I can't remember the exact numbers. Let's say the library closes at 8. We're going to meet 6 to 8. I get to the wrong library at 6. We had agreed on some rate. I think it was $65 for the 2 hour, which is on the low side of things. This is just before the pandemic. This is years after I had gotten my PhD, so it's already on the low end of things. But you know what? They had haggled a little bit, and I was hoping that I get my foot in the door and see what happens. Now they sent me to the right library, and I didn't get there until 6:30. But I started working away with the student. We needed to make up for the lost time, right? And then at the end of the session, the dad says, "How about I give you $50?" Yeah, for his mistake of sending me to the wrong library, and only because I'm desperate enough that I'm willing to risk my life driving there without windshield wipers. And unfortunately, that's how a lot of times my financial situation looks like. Not only do I risk life, but a lot of times I put up with shit at work. Like, for example, I was working at a tutoring center, and I often put up with shitty hours because I can't really jeopardize my job. I don't have room to take risk, right? Um, Ever since I got a little bit of a side hustle, unfortunately, Donald Trump took away my side hustle. But after I got my side hustle, I felt like I had a little bit more room. But even then, here in Taiwan, with the cost of living so low, no cars, you know, I've never had a car payment, but I drive used cars, so the repair bills and all the maintenance that's like my car payment. And here in Taiwan, I don't have to think about that, and there's just more room to play with. Sorry, it's too much of a downpour. Why don't we reschedule for tomorrow? You know what? The saddest part, I took the $50, and guess what happened? I never got him again anyway. I should have just asked for the whole thing. Hey, it's not my problem that you sent me to the wrong library, right? I should have. And so that was the most upsetting part. If I took 50 and I developed good rapport with. That's what I was hoping for. I've learned not to invest too heavily with rapport. All of that can go poof in a moment. It's kind of like dating, right? You could take a girl to a 5-star restaurant, she could ghost you anyway, right? I've learned a lot of clients behave like that too, right? This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.